We are back with another triathlon podcast, and this week we're going to jump into one of our profile episodes. So we've already done the rundown of last weekend's T100 in Ibiza and look forward to some of the super tri racing. So we're adding in an extra episode where we're going to talk to, well, they call him the real deal, Marten Van Riel, who just had an incredible performance at the T100. We're going to break down what happened in the race, what got him to long course after kind of starting his career in the shorter distances, and we'll roll on from there. And as always, joined by my co-hosts, Josh and Fede. But let's start with saying hi to Marten. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Hello, it's completely my pleasure to be here and chat triathlon.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you join us here and definitely get some of your insights because there's been a bit of talk after your performance here at the T100. But before we dive into all of that, we're going to take a little bit of a step back. And I know not a lot of people may know, how did you get started in triathlon? What started you down this whole path?
I actually started out being a swimmer, but when I say I started out being a swimmer, probably most people think I was like some kind of, I don't know, national champion or someone who is like maybe just not good enough to reach like high level swimming, as you see a lot of triathletes. But actually I was probably, I was like a really, really, really bad swimmer. I started when I was 6 years old. I did competition swimming, but I was always one of the last. I think mainly because I was always very behind for my age, like weight and lengthwise. I was like in the lowest percentiles of my age group. And swimming, especially for the competitions you do, is always short distances. So I was just getting destroyed by everyone. I remember my brother, who is 2 years younger, was like always swimming faster times than me. But by persevering, I kind of got better. And once, like when I was getting older, like 15, 16, and you could do more long distance swimming as well, like an 800 here or there, or maybe a 1500 meters freestyle, I actually showed some potential. And one of my friends from the swimming club actually is related to probably one of Belgium's biggest legends in triathlon. He's the nephew of Mark Hermans. And he kind of got me into triathlon because Mark wanted training partners for his nephew, who was a triathlete, and I was one of his best friends. So he's like, okay, you do swimming, let's get you into it. And that's kind of how I got started at around 15, 16 years old.
Yeah, perfect. No better way to get into it than training with one of your good friends and using that as an excuse to go play outside.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, actually, at that point, you don't really realize it because it was just really fun. And I have to say that maybe the swimming, I was kind of losing the fun in that, like, I mean, you're sacrificing a lot for the sport. Like I was, even though I was bad, I was still doing like 4, maybe 5 sessions a week. And most of my Sundays I would spend in a pool to do a race. And I was not really like getting back enough from the sport maybe. And then getting asked by that friend to do triathlon, and another 2 boys joined. And basically, if I look back at it now, we kind of had our 4-person mini squad. And like, we didn't just train together, we also like went to like to the fair together or to a party together. Like we kind of just did everything together. We became like this sporty friend group. And I don't know, like that really worked. Like we were all 4 really happy, and all of us actually like really, really enjoyed that. Some of them went a different way, but actually one of them is also won an Ironman last year, a professional Ironman in Italy.
Oh,
Sten
fantastic.
Goodstauer is a good friend of mine. So like clearly just having that connection between keeping it fun as a young kid still, and still training hard as well. That worked.
Was it always swimming into triathlon, or was there other sports that you mixed in growing up, or like what else did you do to kind of balance out some of the stuff in your childhood?
I was a really, really active kid in general, but like really competition, I didn't do so much. Like I did judo and gymnastics, but like both for like maybe 2 years. And also there I wasn't very good. Actually, judo wasn't too bad because that was with weight categories and not with age categories. So I was fighting like kids who were 2 years younger. Like I was probably just like more advanced than them. So I wasn't that bad in that. But then my dad also kind of does like a little bit of duathlon, triathlon, running, cycling, basically everything. If it's a local event, he does everything within like 20, 30 Ks from my house. He just joins every single event that happens. If there's a short time trial, he will do a time trial. If there's a local running race, he'll do the running race. And yeah, like I kind of started going with him as well. And so I did some fun runs and I did some like some like cycling, I would say more challenges. And I actually did, when I was 12, I probably did like a winter duathlon and stuff like that, but I just didn't train for it. It was really like super unserious, but I was always very active. And yeah, also by my dad, I got a lot of inspiration to do endurance sports mainly.
When did you first finish ahead of him? Because I'm sure that changed the game.
Yeah, that took probably until I was like 15, 16 years old.
Wow.
And that's when he started kind of struggling. So yeah, I would say like in those local competitions, he was actually quite good. So it did take me like quite a while to be able to beat him. But at that time, we were quite competitive with each other. But I think he was actually really happy to see me like grow better than him. I also know that at that point, he never thought that I would become a good sportsman or triathlete as well, because yeah, we had a lot of discussions about that as well with him.
So in Belgium, for such a small country, it seems like there's always a Belgian at the top of any sport. What do you think is a key factor in, the sports culture, and how do you guys grow up? Is it like clubs? Do you go to high performance right away? Why do you think for such a small country, there's a lot of talent? And because I know you guys are hard workers and the Belgian hammers, and the culture is incredible. You have an amazing history with cycling and endurance sports, and you guys are very passionate and like a dedicated sports people and sports fans. Why do you think that is?
I think that in triathlon, that's mainly because we have a lot of cycling in our country. Like cycling is in our country, it's probably still number 2 sport. Soccer or football is number 1, but cycling is really, really close. And obviously, cycling is one of the 3 sports in triathlon. So having that kind of like, fed to the Belgian people from when they're really young, like kind of everyone knows how to ride a bike. Everyone rides their bike to school as well. Like I rode my bike to school every day for like 11, 12K each way. So in the end of the week, that's actually more than 100 Ks of training. It's not really training, but like I did that from when I was like 12 until I was 18. So I think that probably brings a lot of the culture, actually, the fact that we are cycling everywhere and that cycling is such a big sport for us. And obviously, in triathlon, that's a really big advantage, because if you're 25 and you've never touched a bike, it's going to get difficult, especially in short distance racing, where you do need a lot of technique and cornering and pack riding. And I think, other than that, also triathlon in general, we've kind of always had some like really big names. We've had Luc van Lierde, who won Hawaii twice. Then we've had Marino van Hoenacker, who won, I think, like 8 or 9, or maybe even, no, actually 15, I think, Ironmans. We've had Freddie van Lierde, who won an Ironman. We've had Mark Hermans, who I mentioned before. He was the one that got me into triathlon. He was 8 in Hawaii, but then got a big accident and got paralyzed for life. But then he actually won Hawaii in a wheelchair like 5 years later. And those guys all are like, some of the bigger stars in sports in Belgium. And that definitely makes it that triathlon like is not maybe like that far away from like kids or people to join, like it's maybe not a number 3 or even number 5 sport, but it's still up there with the choices, and yeah, that obviously helps.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to hear that. Now, so you started off kind of playing with your friends, spending some time training with them and enjoying all of it. When did you start to think maybe I could get to the Olympics? Maybe this is something I could do as a professional. What was that point?
Well, I have to say that I actually never dreamt of the Olympics. Like it was always, well, the Tour de France in cycling, obviously, like being Belgium, but I never got the right opportunities in cycling. For me, Hawaii was always like my big dream, a lot more than the Olympics. Actually, the Olympics is
Wow.
only later that I got into that. Yeah, I have to say that the period when I started triathlon, everything kind of started rolling quite quickly because when I was 16, 17, that kind of came synchronized with my growth spurt as well. When all of a sudden I wasn't the smallest kid anymore. And I mean, that went together with performances. And all of a sudden, when I was 17, I started to win some like small races in Belgium. And when I was 18, I became Belgian junior champion. So it was kind of like really quick progression. And that's probably when I was 18, became Belgian champion. That's probably where I started believing in myself that, yeah, maybe I could do something, but then you still need the right opportunities, because I had pressure from my parents to go and study. Obviously, I didn't earn very much with the sport, or actually I earned zero with the sport. My parents had to pay a lot to have me do the sport, and I wasn't really getting federation support. So yeah, it took another 1-2 years and actually a lot of luck before I actually made the step to being pro. But that was probably where I started to really believe and train with the goal in my mind to become professional.
That's very good to hear.
What is it like once you get into that mode of, okay, Olympics are up next and I'm on that path? What is it like working with the Belgian Federation? Because we all know I'm in America, Jenna's in Canada, Fetty's in Mexico, and each federation has its own processes and way it handles things. How has that whole thing been for you over the last 10, 12 years?
I mean, actually, that started out pretty rocky because when I was in that period, when I was 16, 17, I did some of the tests to get into the federation, and actually they said like you're not good enough. But then yeah, when I was 18, became Belgian champion, I got some opportunities, so I did actually go to European championships, to World Championships Junior. But I was kind of unlucky that we had a fellow Belgian guy who everyone else will also know is Jelle Geens, who won some World Series races. And this guy came second on that European champs, and I came 17th. So even though 17th was the best Belgian result in like 12 years or something at the junior Europeans, everyone seemed to kind of just forget because we had the silver medal with Jelle on the junior Europeans. Yeah, basically the next year I didn't get any funding anymore, like making the step from junior to under 23, like zero funding. So I went back to doing local races, like only in Belgium. And then another year later, I went, like my team really believed in me and they paid to do some European Cups. And they basically were immediately really good. And that's where the federation picked me up again. So they did pick me up quite quickly again, but it's not really a story where they supported me from when I was young. But I have to say that basically from there on, so that's second year under 23, I think we're talking about 2013. From then onwards, I've had pretty like really good actually support from them, and especially I've got the freedom to do kind of what I wanted, which gave me the opportunity in 2015 to join the group of Joel Filio, the training squad of Joel Filio, because I couldn't really find a coach that was suiting for me in Belgium. And I would say that that's where I really made the jump from being maybe a good under 23 athlete to like really being up there with the elites. So that's definitely, yeah, because of opportunities that the Belgium Federation gave me.
Did you do a lot of training with like the Joel Filio squad and stuff, or was it more him giving you training plans? Like, what did that look like to have you make that leap?
Yeah, but when you train with Joel, it's all in. So you have to go with the squad, and basically, well, we basically live together 24/7. I was with his group from joined the end of 2014 until the end of 2021. That's when I was with the group, and yeah, basically we're like a group of nomads, nomad professional triathletes traveling around the world, kind of following that World Triathlon Series circuit, and having like some training camp locations that are located good in between those races. But yeah, that's honestly, for me, that's a phenomenal setup to be able to train with the best and live with the best people in triathlon in the world. Maybe then, yeah, you learn so much from that, and like I think that's been, yeah, probably the one biggest step that I made in my career.
That's amazing. I wanted to talk about after you joined Joel's squad. Of course, environment is very important, and I know a big part of Joel's success is having the right people pushing each other. First question is, how did you guys keep the ego in check at the door? Like, for instance, how did you go on a training ride and not start pushing each other up to the point when you are not like actually benefiting from the training? And next question would be, how was your first win 2017 in Malmö in Sweden? How did you go to that, and how did you feel after your junior years and getting your first win as a pro, and then going back to back in, I think, Wustvessel, you won again? What changed like in your mind? Were you always like a confident guy? How did you approach those races? Was it just time and commitment and all the results throughout the years? And yeah, basically, how did that go?
Yeah, I would say I'm not like, well, actually, I'm quite confident when it comes to triathlon. I don't know if I'm that confident in the rest of life, but yeah, basically, that confidence came quite easy because when you train with this group, you kind of know, like, I mean, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, but there is no hiding. You kind of know where you are if you're training with Mario Mola back then, Richard Murray. I don't know who else was there, Gregor Buchholz. Like we had at one point like 5 or 6 guys in the top 20 of the world.
Yeah.
You kind of know where you're at. Like, so in 2016, basically, that's when I really started catching up with them. That's when I came 6th at the Olympics as well. And that's where I really started believing, like, okay, wow, if I can follow these guys in training, or even sometimes like I even sometimes dropped some of them or was faster than some of them, why can I not do that in races? If they can do it, I can do it. So you do build a lot of confidence by training with the best in the world, because you kind of just see, yeah, you really see where you're at. If you're beating these people in training and you're finishing 20th in a race, yeah, you know there is something wrong because you can directly compare yourself. But yeah, to the other point of your question, it is quite difficult to keep the egos in check sometimes. And actually that what before my 2 wins in those European Cups in Malmö and Wustwedel, that's actually what went really wrong, because my Belgian friend Jelle also joined Joel's squad. And with the other people, I could keep my ego in check pretty well. With Jelle, we both couldn't really keep our egos in check, because like inside your country, there's always this extra battle, because you're like really directly fighting for like the same sponsors, the same attention, the same media. And basically we were both super, super fit in the beginning of 2017, and we both got a stress fracture in the beginning of 2017. No, that kind of brought us both also back to reality, and I don't think we ever were that competitive against each other anymore. But yeah, I think what also does keep the egos in check and does keep you from wanting to smash the other people is that you can probably get away with being a hero in one training, but you can never back it up day after day. And if you're with a squad of that high level, you're never going to be the best at every single session. So sometimes you just have to deal with the fact that you are going to be the one that is hanging off the back or getting dropped or really struggling. And some days you're probably going to be the one that is maybe pushing it a little bit. And yeah, when you find that balance, it kind of becomes also just a bit about helping each other on the day. You're a bit stronger, you just go a bit more in the front. It's not that you try to drop the other ones. So yeah, like you learn that because if you're a hero too much, you're gonna regret it. You're gonna regret it or get injured.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you went on to have an even better performance at the next Olympics over in Tokyo. Kind of what had your expectations changed once you got that sixth place going into the Tokyo Olympics?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that sixth place was probably, even including for myself, was kind of a surprise in Rio. But then, in 2017, I started winning some European Cups. I started winning some World Cups in 2018, I think. Then 2019 did a podium on the World Series. And I was just getting closer and closer. And I did kind of feel like, okay, 2020, 2021 in the end, that I was going to be one of the favorites. I really felt like it was going to be my time. But yeah, like, I mean, that fourth place it's still very, very tough. Like coming fourth, it really hurts. But on the other hand, I'm also like, in a way, really, really proud of that result because I've never maybe been a natural runner. Like it's cost me a lot of effort and growth throughout my career to be able to run fast. And Tokyo was basically a running race. So to come fourth there, I am very, very proud of it, but the place is also a little bit painful, obviously.
Yeah, I think you would have had a way better race if Tokyo would have had a tougher, more technical bike course. I think, well, I know you are very vocal about it, and some WTCS races are not as challenging on the bike for a guy like you, that you are an incredible bike rider, a swimmer, and you're also, like, for the audience, when Martin says he was not a great runner, he was already an amazing runner. But there are guys that are a bit ahead on the running part, but in terms of a complete triathlete, I do believe you're one of those guys. And if courses were a bit more challenging, I think we would be talking to a complete different story. Yeah, fourth place is a hard pill to swallow, but when you finish sixth, fourth, you can win it because it's just a matter of luck when it comes to the day. Just want to say that, you should be very proud for that. And hopefully, if you make a run for LA, maybe they make a more challenging course, which I don't think they're gonna do. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that you kind of sum up Olympic distance racing a bit as well. Like the run is just kind of disproportionately important. And yeah, that's something that I've been struggling with the last couple of years, especially because maybe this is a very controversial thing to say, but I do think that I would have been on the podium in Tokyo if it was about the best swim bike runner.
Yes.
But it's just way more important to be the best runner because, I mean, I was probably one of the strongest bikers. I was top 5 out of the water and I had the 4th running time. Whereas, yes, like someone like Hayden or Alex or Christian, I think none of them were out of the water in the top 30. Like I think Hayden was even 5th. But that's just the game of short course racing. And that's been a frustration of mine these last couple of years. And yeah, that ultimately also led to dude, I don't think I'm gonna go for LA
Yeah.
2028 anymore. That hunger is kind of disappeared a little bit. So
Maybe
Well, I
maybe you
mean,
can go in on cycling, and you and Remco can go on the TT together.
I mean that's really my dream. I've already in an Instagram post I once tagged him and I said like, Remco, if you need a training partner, and he actually reacted quite positive. He even started following me. So
Oh, there you
so I
go.
hope that we can go for a training ride one day.
That'd be
you
awesome.
get more and more triathletes getting into the TT road racing.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe I should try it once. I mean, if I think that for doing the Belgian championships, you probably just need like a cycling license.
Mm.
So that's not too hard to enter. And I think that Belgian TT championships are probably quite competitive, I would say, to measure
Yeah.
where you're at.
Well, if you hop in, just send me a message and let me know before you tell anyone else, and we'll let
Yeah.
everyone know it's fun.
Okay.
No, so I mean, we talk about the Olympics and the struggle with it not being the swim, bike, run, but clearly the middle distance, long distance is something that really suits you well. And I don't know, why don't you tell people how many Ironman and PTO races have you done, and how have those races gone?
Yeah, and right now I'm still unbeaten, but we'll see for how long I can say that. I mean, with the level of racing at these T100 races and some of the other goals that I have in the close and a bit further future, that's probably not gonna keep lasting. There will be a bad day, or there will be just someone better on the day at one point. But for now we're 6 for 6, and I'm very proud of that. But that's not something I try to focus too much on, because like I take it race by race, and it's really cool to see now that is what happened in those 6 races basically.
Yeah,
I think
and
a
that's
lot of
something
people have seen recently what you've done, and people forget. I mean, this started back in 2019, I think was your first win. I mean, so you've been at it for a while at that distance, and now it's going to become your focus. So I think that's what people are scared about most. Like, this is just now becoming your sole focus. So kudos to you, man, for what you've done. And yeah, I know it's on the back of your mind because we all saw the finish line. So yeah, we know the motivation's there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I have to say that the 6 was like a big motivation, because I always said, well, actually, I said I didn't do that part because I didn't want to jinx it before the race, but maybe I should have talked with my manager about it. But actually, my plan was to rent a McLaren, and like there is a song of Central C, who's one of my favorite artists, that is 6 for 6, where he's sitting on a McLaren.
yeah,
I was
that'd be
thinking to
amazing.
replicate that, but then I was also thinking, like, I can't organize this before the race, because that's 100% jinxing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it didn't happen, but I still used the song on an Instagram post. So that was the reward.
that's great. I love that. That would have been a really fun post afterwards. But yeah, you know what? It's funny. We see a lot of the Olympic distance athletes will come start to do 70.3s, but they're a little bit more of the obscure ones. They'll have some good results. To jump in and come to the T100, which is definitely the most competitive races that we have going on middle distance right now, has been seriously impressive to see just how well you've transitioned with it. Now, with that change kind of from Olympic distance to middle distance, obviously you're changing bikes up from your road bike. Now you're having to dial in the TT position, do the training on that. How did you find that whole transition? Was that challenging, or was it something that you found pretty comfortable pretty quickly?
Yeah, actually, I have to say that it all comes quite naturally. I think that
Like do the
because
bike?
like my position was without doing a lot of work. Like, a lot of people think I've been to the wind tunnel a lot, for instance, but I haven't. I think I have a good position, kind of a bit out of luck, or like just like almost first setup was something I feel really good with. And also, I think that I was never like a speedy short course racer. I think that my strength is probably more endurance. So I think that that's why I probably naturally translate quite well to these longer distances as well. And also just because the last years I have been quite disappointed with courses we've been getting from World Triathlon and that kind of stuff. So having my eyes also on the middle distance racing is just something that kept me really hungry and excited for the sports. And I think that's basically the most important. Like, I'm now kind of changing up my training a bit. I feel again like that 16, 17-year-old kid that gets to do like different trainings or like gets to do like longer bike rides. And like, I don't know, I just really have the excitement for all of this. And
Yep.
I think actually that's one of the most important things, because a lot of triathletes have very long careers, and that obviously goes with ups and downs. Like, no one can keep the same level of motivation during 15, sometimes 20 years that professional triathletes' careers last. And I think keeping that hunger, but especially that love for our sport and for training, is probably what keeps me also on my toes and immediately gives me a high level, because I'm just enjoying it, you know?
That's the biggest thing. And speaking of tough bike courses, kind of where you really, got your name out there at the middle distance was that T100 in San Francisco. Can you tell us a little bit about, one, that bike course, and two, how was that run? What was going through your head when it started to look like everything was going to come down to a sprint in the end?
Yeah, I mean, actually, that race, I wasn't very well prepared, because I did 2 short course races that I had to do because I wasn't officially qualified yet for Belgium for the Olympics. And they were in Yokohama, so near Tokyo, and in Cagliari in Italy. And then I had to go to San Francisco. So like 3 continents in 4 weeks, I think. So I didn't arrive there in the best shape, but then I was very lucky, I think, with the bike course that I got, because that was really a bike course for me. I mean, lots of climbing, quite steep actually, and also technical downhills, which some of the guys probably struggled a bit with that. I don't want to call out the Americans too much, but they're probably used to riding straight roads more. Yeah, like us Europeans are more used to like descending, and that was actually like it's actually a very technical course. Even the short loops that we had, like I think the full Escape from Alcatraz course is even a lot more technical. But the bike was incredibly tough though. Like on the uphills, like I don't think, even for my weight, I don't think I ever went under 400 watts on the uphills. So it was really, really tough. And I arrived on the run as the last one of our group. But that also means like, there was about 9 people, I think, but everyone probably has like 3-4 seconds in between them. So that means you're out of transition almost half a minute or like 25 seconds down on the first. And that was Kyle Smith. And I knew that Kyle Smith was going to be my big opponent. So probably I closed the gap. I really wanted to close it. And I closed it in like maybe 2-3 kilometers. But I just blew my own doors off. From the time I arrived with him, I just could only follow. So that's why I put all my effort into one sprint, because I just felt that I didn't have enough to try and break away. I was just happy to hang on. And I mean, I think that they should have probably pushed a bit more earlier, but I'm not going to give them too much tactical advice. But I was definitely suffering at some points. But then once I could smell the line, the short course instinct kicks in, and I could take it with a very close margin. So yeah, that was definitely an interesting race.
Yeah, as spectators, it was so much fun to watch too, just seeing that battle go down to the finish. And you know what, you're definitely making a lot of the T100 races interesting. With this previous weekend in Ibiza, you had another race where you're going head to head out on the run, which is not too shabby for you said not a fast runner, but you're definitely getting the job done on the run these days. Can you tell us a little bit about how that went? Just kind of, what does that feel like to be step by step beside your competitor for so much of the run with Sam Laidlow just right beside you?
Yeah, like it feels good, but also very bad to be that close to each other. I mean, Sam is an absolute legend. I mean, he's the Ironman world champion right now. So yeah, to be able to just have battles like that with big names like that, that's what I live for, that's what I do the sport for. On the other hand, I do have to say that I did not expect that from him,
Yeah.
because he
No, but he
was
was
like,
good.
he really, really impressed me. But yeah, like, I mean, it was amazing. In the first maybe 2 laps again, I think he was probably a bit stronger than me. And then I started gradually feeling that I was maybe a bit stronger. So then I started enjoying it even more to run together with him. Because I kind of knew, I started thinking about like a tactical plan and what I was going to do. And I felt like, okay, second to last climb, that's where I'm going to go. I think that was a very good plan. But yeah, I love the fact that these are becoming really close battles. And I think it's only going to get more like this, like the higher the level of the T100 racing is going to become. And it will become higher level even, because they're like, I mean, obviously also the money interests a lot of the short course stars and the long course stars. So basically, best of both worlds won their piece of the pie. And yeah, I think that in the future, you're only going to see more and more like closer and closer racing there. And that's obviously fantastic. I mean, that's what you do the sports for, but it's also very painful on this format to have like 3 hours plus of racing come down to millimeters in San Fran or in Ibiza again, like quite a small margin. Obviously, it's incredibly hard. Those kind of races really take a toll on the body and the mind.
Absolutely.
So you
I
talked
wanted to.
about your sorry, Fred. You talked about
No,
your
go,
run.
go.
I happen to look up on the PTO World Rankings just to give you an update. 12th in the swim, 10th in the bike, 9th in the run. So it's actually your strongest of the three right now, according to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. I'll take it. I'll take it.
So I want to talk about, now that you mentioned watts and bike and speed and all of that. I know you've done quite a few interviews and you're very open with your training, and that's something we really appreciate because, yeah, that's very good to hear. I watched one of the videos of you and the guys of Sweat Elite that they followed you around for a couple of days. And always in podcasts and stuff, they ask you, what's your favorite training session and all of this. But I wanted to go a little bit more deep into that. So, of course, there are sessions that you know that if you complete them in the right way, you have the confidence to execute, to race well. My question is, what type of sessions get you ready to execute the key session? Like, what are a couple of sessions that you say, okay, I need to do 8 weeks of this in order to do my 4x30 minutes at race pace before getting ready? Yeah, like the grinding out session, so to speak.
I mean, it does get a little bit different. Also, the more kind of competitive the T100 racing is getting, those sessions are getting different again, because I think that the best way, for instance, like one of my best trainings to measure how good I am on a 70.3 or T100 distance, it's probably something like 4 times 25 minutes around race pace, race watts with 5 minutes break. But then that's really good to measure how good I would be if I was alone in that race. So right now I'm doing a little bit more probably work that is quite significantly over my race pace, or even like a little bit under, and then combine that in training. So like, for instance, I think it was about 10 days before Ibiza, I did a session on the time trial bike, and it was about 8-9 minutes like over race watts. So for me, I think I did like 370 to 80 watts, and then I did 1 minute kind of neutral, but it was I was doing a loop, so I was doing one way, and then around the roundabout was neutral for a minute, and then on the way back, I had to go between 300 and 320, which is like under my half or T100 race pace, and do that 3 times. So always it was about 8-9 minutes one way, 1 minute recovery, 8-9 minutes the other way, and then over, one way over and one way under race pace. I think those training sessions are really interesting for a race especially like T100, because it's not just a time trial, like maybe if I would go out and do a random 70.3, it would be more of a time trial for me. But if you race the best in the world, there is gonna be a lot of dynamics in the race. For instance, Sam Laidlow, like that first lap in Ibiza was really, really hard. I mean, I'm a lot lighter than most of the other guys, but I had nearly 350 normalized after an hour, which for me, it's a lot. I'm 67 kilos. So yeah, but you have to learn to also hit the higher watts. So I think that's what's getting more and more important. So I like more to do those just steady workouts where you really have like high numbers for a long time. But even for long distance, the closer the racing gets, the more you're also gonna have to train on getting like over under your race efforts.
Do you think those over-under efforts are just as important for your body as it is mentally? When you start to like realize that under session effort, 8-9 minutes is, wow, it's a lot easier than it was 2 months ago or a month ago. Do you think that mental aspect is huge for you too?
Yeah. I mean, if you do a training like that and you execute it well, obviously, like you don't like if you do it bad, it can also take away some morale. But like in that session, like the 300 to 320 watts, it almost feels like recovery, like easy, like you see your heart rate going down, like, and that obviously gives a lot of confidence, because then in a race when maybe you are suffering a bit, but you feel like, okay, finally we can take a breather, you see the watts going down, in your mind as well, okay, I can do this, like I can let my heart rate drop, I can relax a bit, okay. So yeah, that like definitely like does give you confidence to basically see the watts that you feel still very in control and easy as to see them go really up and up and up and up. Yeah, that's something that is very motivating.
And now you don't have to worry about people drafting off of you when you're pushing those watts, because now they call them penalties.
Now that they started to give cards out, so
Yeah,
it's only getting better.
definitely a
You
good
just got to
thing.
go the right direction though, Mark.
Yeah, but that was not. I mean, it was my fault. Like we're supposed to know the course, but I have to say, like I saw a lot of people critiquing, like these are professionals, like they should know the course, which I agree with. But in my defense, Ibiza is really, really, really bad for training. Like it's so busy with cars that going out on the course was really like not fun, and you couldn't really see the course good, like it was just an endless stream of cars, so it was hard to really see the good points. And also that's 100, but they did send us like maps like of all the important points, but then they send them in like 6 or 7 different orientations, like the north was always in a different spot. And yeah, I mean, I thought I had to go straight there, the barrier was open and the motos were going straight, so
Yeah, it
it
looks
was a
like you
bit of
guys
my
followed the
fault
moto.
and a bit of organization, so I blame it on the others.
Fair enough. And it seemed like a sea of cones on that course. There seemed to be an exceptional amount of the course was designed by cones.
Yeah, but that's good because I felt at home on a world triathlon course. They
There you
usually
go.
put the obscene amount of cones as well, so I felt at home.
Absolutely. Now, before we started recording, you were talking about some of the heat training you're doing, and we know you have T100 Las Vegas coming up, or T100 Lake Las Vegas, being crafted there.
Las Vegas.
And a number of athletes have Kona, the World Championships, coming up as well. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do for heat training to prepare for something where you said it might be up to like 42 degrees, or I think that's around 100 Fahrenheit?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that it cools down a little bit the coming week, and it does look like it. But yeah, like you basically have, I think it's usually divided into heat acclimatization, which is when you are already like in the actual temperatures where you're gonna race. So I'm also gonna use that. I'm actually gonna go 10 days before the race to Vegas. So that's next Wednesday already. And then the same with Dubai. I'm also gonna go 2 weeks before already, just to get used to it, because in the end, if it's possible, that's by far the easiest way to do it, is be on location and train in the actual circumstance that you're gonna race in. But yeah, obviously it is already good to start adapting a little bit before you go to those races, or sometimes people just, yeah, like you say, like, I mean, an age grouper that has to work, they can go 3 weeks early to Kona. So you can do like the acclimation, which is like do some sauna training and some heat training on either the turbo or on the treadmill. So today I did it on the treadmill, and yeah, basically I just put on like a lot of clothes and yeah, just try to hit a certain core temperature. So we use the core sensor, but well, I don't think they're ever gonna sponsor me. They're already on Christian and Gustav. Like I'm not really a big, like, my coach likes it, but I don't really think it's that accurate. It's a bit of a guideline, but it's something, but it's not something you can follow blindly. So it does take a lot of trial and error to get those heat training sessions right. So you kind of have to know, well, okay, I will kind of say how I do it. I go on the scale before, I weigh myself, and then just you have to remember what you're drinking or eating even, if you eat during the session that you're doing. And then usually the heat sessions would be around 1 hour, and basically just put on a lot of clothes. And this is something that you kind of gonna have to learn about yourself, how much you have to put on. And that's why it's probably the best to do it either on the treadmill or on the turbo, because that's already controlled environment where it's always similar temperatures in the gym or in your house to ride on the turbo. If you would do it outside, it's going to get a lot tougher because outside temperatures are different. There's more wind, less wind, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, basically, covering your whole body is the most important, I would say, even more than putting different layers on. So I have a buff that comes right under my mouth. I put a beanie on, I put gloves, I put like 2 or 3 long sleeves, and like something that doesn't breathe very well on top, like a rain jacket type, and then long pants. That's basically it. If I go even more extreme, I put on a painter suit, and then I try to, I start my training, and usually I do a bit of a warm up, like 10-15 minutes, I would say. And then I go a bit harder for like 5-10 minutes. That's to really get the core up. So, and then after those 5-10 minutes, you usually start to see a big disconnect between your heart rate and your pace that you're going. And that's also how you can kind of evaluate. So for me, for instance, I will be about 10 beats per minute higher for the same pace, but that's basically just my body generating heat. And that's also like that disconnection. It's also something that you have to kind of learn for yourself how much that is for you. And then I start gradually taking off clothes if I feel like it's really getting too much, on which I use that heart rate disconnect and my core sensor a bit, and do that for about an hour, weigh myself again, and then after the session, try to drink as quick as possible the difference between your weight before and after times 1.5.
Yeah,
Basically, that's basically how I do it. And then sometimes I even go in the sauna immediately after one of those sessions.
Ouch.
Or I use the sauna separately, but if you do it separately, it's like, I don't think it has that much of an effect, because it's hard to be longer in a sauna than, like, let's say if you would do 2 times 20 minutes, that would already be very long. And yeah, it's better to have like almost near 1 hour of elevated core temperature. That's when you get effects. And yeah, like it's a hard thing because actually you have to do this 5 times a week
Wow.
to
Yeah.
have an actual effect on both the adaptation, and then for more scientific, you also get basically a similar effect than altitude training from it, but it comes at a high cost. It takes a lot of energy and effort, so it's maybe worth it for a couple of races in a year. Probably for a Kona, it's worth it for most people, but it's not something you can do consistently because it just takes too much energy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely
And
training
it
up competitive and a lot of that. It's almost a mental hit too, kind of that central governor after a while. You're just like, I start to dread those sessions. You know they work, so that's a really good tip that you can only do it for a few key races or else you just get so burnt out on it.
Yeah, that's it. And also, I mean, they're not the most enjoyable. I mean, maybe for someone like Lionel Sanders, that would be enjoyable because he loves to be
Wants to suffer.
in his pain cave anyway, you know, like, but me, I love the sports to go outside, to ride with people and like to do loops, to go climb mountains. That's what I love. So like, it's a bit of a punishment to have to do my training inside for me. So, yeah.
And it's also like important that you are training to heat adapt, because a lot of people that want to get heat adaptation, they want to do their quality session while they're doing the heat training. And that is like the recipe to be burned out very quickly. So thank you for sharing that, because a lot of people that are training for Kona, they want to do their race pace stuff for an hour and a half while on a heat suit, and that's just going to blow them up. So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
And probably also then in that case, they're probably also gonna be taking a lot away from their actual session.
Mhm.
Like,
Exactly.
they're not gonna hit their paces, which is gonna demotivate them, but also they're not gonna get the actual adaptation from doing that training. So yeah, I think it's better to separate it and try to find a way and to make it as controlled as possible, the sessions, as in have it in very similar circumstances, similar pace, because that's the only way to really see differences in how your body reacts. And yeah, it is a very difficult thing because it has a very small margin of error.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep
100%.
you too much longer, and I know we had a bunch of questions from the fans, but I'll only ask one of them, and then we can get to our standard questions that we like to ask in rapid fire type order. But the one question a lot of people had was, what's that new contraption on your bike in the T100? So you had it on your back, your new device that they
Really? Hey, actually, no one's asked me, but that's actually really not something special. It's just from Exolab, which is the same brand as my rear bottle cage is from, and it's just a aero pouch, it's called, and you can put your spare material in there. But the more you have behind your ass, the better. Like, it's good for your airflow. The more is there, like if you could put like I don't know what you can put
Very
behind,
nice.
like, but the more the better, basically. So
Yeah, no,
yeah, that's
not
why
behind,
I
not
left it
behind
on.
your ass. Like there's something on your back, like literally on your spine. That's
Is there a
Ah,
GPS device or?
no, that's the GPS from T100.
okay.
And so they have a GPS pouch, and I put it really low now because the last time in San Francisco they put it quite high. So they sew like a little pouch in our suit, and yeah, my helmet was touching it. So when I was going in the aero position, the tip of my helmet was touching it, and it was really annoying. So they changed it and put it actually really low. So now it looks like I have something like a weird communication device, but it's actually, I mean, I haven't really watched the broadcast. I don't know if they use a lot of the data, but yeah, that's actually would be to have our speeds and probably like where they broadcast our heart rate, and they could broadcast our watts as well. They haven't done that, I think, but
We would
we
love
have
that,
signed
but
that
they
off,
haven't.
so they can do it.
We would definitely love to see more of that. Okay, before we'll let you go here soon. You've been so generous with your time. We've got a couple kind of quick hit questions, and then we'll be done for the day. But we'll start off with, if you had to race a triathlon with another pro, you had to partner with someone, who would it be and why? And this could be either someone who would just be fun to suffer with, or someone who would push you, or someone who you just want to spend that time with.
Well, probably I would have to choose Aaron Royal here because in the T100 they're starting to say that we're like a couple because we always do everything together and like we always go together to dinner. So if other athletes come into the same restaurant or something and see us together, I was like, the couple is here. So I'll make it a couples triathlon with
There you
Aaron.
go.
I mean, he can push me on the swim, and then we can take turns on the bike, and I'll try to push him a bit on the run.
Perfect. I love it. Now, if triathlon had a fourth discipline, what would be your preference for it? So is there a sport or something that you're good at that could be that fourth discipline that would give you the edge?
Judo.
Yeah, I mean,
judo. Fight them at the end.
I don't know. I don't know if I want to pick judo. If I see some of the guys like a Rico Bogan or something, I don't think that I can throw them into an ippon in T2 or
It
after
wouldn't
the
be
finish
weight
line.
classified, so you'd be up against anyone.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe we should go for something extreme, no? Like a base jump or something like.
There we go. I like it. Keep it interesting. A little bit of adrenaline at the end
Yeah.
of the race. Perfect. Now, what's your guilty pleasure song that gets you kind of pumped up for a race or in a hard training session?
Other than 6 for 6.
Yeah, that's true. I'm a big fan of Central C, but I don't listen to a lot of music anymore. Before yeah, maybe just Wiz Khalifa, We Them Boys. I think that was the last song I listened before. It's not that famous, but it's the last song I listened before Ibiza, I think.
Definitely worked for Ibiza, so can't discount that.
Some
Okay,
aggressive rap. That's what I go for.
there we go. Last question we have for you. Is there one piece of advice that you got throughout your career that's just kind of stuck with you, that's resonated with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's still from Joel, just like what he always said was consistency is key, and I think that's very true. And probably in some periods I've also overdone that, but I think in general in life, if you can, follow that like rule, it's the best. It's better to not be obsessed at any point, so don't ever do too much. But it's better to just do something small every day to work towards your goal, and you're gonna get a lot farther than you think you can.
Definitely some advice a lot of age groupers need to hear. 100%.
Very cool. Yeah, I appreciate you hopping on. This was awesome. I know it was kind of last minute and coming out of Ibiza. I'm sure there was some nights of partying after that win and in the beautiful island. And now you're off to Vegas, another party central. So you're gonna be
Yeah, I
partied
think
out by the time you get to Dubai, where you can't party.
that's it. I think that T100 is trying to like sabotage its own athletes or something like that. It's like, who can make it to Dubai? Like who's
There
not
we go.
getting burnt out, partied out. No, actually, we kept it quite calm. I think a lot of people were already with both Kona, because a lot of the guys were going, and girls were, well, not girls actually. A lot of guys were going to Kona, and most girls were probably dead from doing Nice the week before. So it was actually quite calm after the race.
Fair enough. Need to have a big party after the grand final there, and then you'll have earned it
That's
at
it.
that point.
I'm sure that will happen.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. It was really great to get that insight, and we will definitely be cheering you on at Lake Las Vegas.
Okay. Thank you very much for the chat. I enjoyed it.
Have a great one.